Virtual Campground is a community of RVers. We gather around the campfire to share stories, information, and travel tips that help you on your next adventure. Your camp hosts, Deborah and Barry Benton, are full-time RVers in search of quaint bookstores, cozy coffee shops with great Wi-Fi, and epic photography opportunities, all to share with you. So pull up your chair and join us in the Virtual Campground. Welcome to the Virtual Campground. We are so glad you are here. I am Barry, and this is
Deborah.
So we're here to wrap up Michigan. So this is our fourth in the series.
Yep.
So we just kind of take you through our tour of the different parts of Michigan and some things that we recommend, and we just want to kind of put a bow on it with this quick little video.
Yeah, we stayed in Michigan for about, I think all told, we were there probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
A week of it we left to go to a wedding in Dallas, but we were there from basically early June until mid-July. Yeah. So it was a good amount of time, but there was still so many things that we didn't see that we want to go back to see. But we did get to do a lot of fun things. We've shared with you already our trips out of Holland, out of Traverse City and the UP, but there are a few things that didn't make the previous shows that we wanted just to touch on. Some other areas that we visited, and some things and tips and ideas that we have that you might be able to use when you're going to Michigan.
That's right. All right. So
because you definitely should go to Michigan.
That's right. So let's just sort of reset here.
Okay.
When people say Michigan, there's two parts of Michigan. They'll throw up the mitt, and then they'll put the hand on top, and that hand kind of looks like a shark, or that area of Michigan sort of looks like a shark.
So the shark area is the Upper Peninsula, and it is touching basically 3 of the lakes.
Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, and Lake Huron. Does it touch Lake Huron? Yeah, sure does.
And then the mitten is sort of in between Michigan, Huron, and a little bit of Erie down there. But we keep putting up our hands, because anytime you talk to somebody in Michigan and they're like, "Where are you?" We're like,
live here.
Well, we're here, and I live there. So they absolutely use that hand, that mitten look.
That's right.
And so when we're talking about the areas that we've already just talked to you about, that's the part over by Lake Michigan, Traverse City. You see there, right where they have sort of the break in the mitten. And then we went up to the Upper Peninsula, and now we're kind of talking about all of it. Yeah.
So those hitting on some of those things that we missed, or covering some more details.
Absolutely.
So one of the first places was Petoskey.
We did that as a day trip when we were in St. Ignace. We came down under the bridge again and went into Petoskey. We had heard really great things about it, and we had driven through it on our way from Traverse City to St. Ignace, and it looked really cute. Yeah. So we wanted to go back and have a day there, so we did. And it is definitely worth the stop, definitely worth at least a day. I'm sure there's plenty of things to do there that you can do there, as opposed to being in Traverse City or someplace else if you wanted to. But it is absolutely adorable. Yeah, very adorable. And the first stop, we happened to park near this truck yard / brewery. Kind of had a really cool vibe. Lots of people. And there were about 6 or 7, I guess, food trucks. Yeah, something like that. And then the main building was a brewery. Yeah, really cool. So we got a little snack there, and then walked over to the cheese shop, and really great cheese shop. And we bought too much cheese, but it was great. We had heard about this one from our friends. They thought that we should definitely stop, so we did. And walked around. I think this area is called the Gaslight Area, and it's very, you can tell that they've really refurbished well these old buildings. There was a hardware store that had been there, since the beginning of time, kind of thing. That was a lot more than just hardwares. But of course, for me, got to find a bookstore. So we found this adorable bookstore, McLean and Eakin. I have to say, just that yellow chair just made me happy. Just to see it in the middle of this green room surrounded by books. It was just cheerful. But it was a beautiful little bookstore. Found a book I'd been looking for all over for there. So that was good. And this whole area had a park. There was the lake, of course, and there was a lot of boats out there.
And then, of course, all these shops, ice cream. You can always find ice cream. Something about
Ice cream
Michigan and
and
ice
fudge.
cream. Yeah, absolutely.
And my favorite ice cream, by the way, just a little free tip here, was Michigan Pothole.
Yes.
And
it had a little bit of everything in it. It
Really
was chocolate.
good.
Yes. So we also went over to Petoskey Brewing and had dinner out. They had a nice little patio area, some nice
Adirondack cheers.
Yes, thank you. Around a fire pit. So that was fun to sit there, and it was good food.
It was a nice day in Petoskey.
It was a very
Highly
nice
recommended.
day. Highly good day trip.
Yep.
And from Petoskey, you can also, we talked about the truck yard, yes. You can also do a couple of other things. So one is something called the Tunnel of Trees. We did not do this, so we don't have any pictures of it. And absolutely, fall would be the time to be there. It is an area that you're going to do in your car, not in your RV. And it's an area that gets very busy because people are going through there. You could probably find a lot of other great places to look at autumn color, but the Tunnel of Trees is very famous, and it's not far outside of Petoskey. So that is something to look up as far as scenic drives. The other place we drove through, and I really want to at some point go back and see, is Charlevoix.
Charlevoix, yeah. Very famous place. And one thing that we saw as we were driving through was a sign about mushroom houses or something.
Mushroom
like that?
houses or hobbit houses, they're called.
Okay.
But this gentleman was a self-taught architect, Earl Young, and he built from 1919 until the 70s, I believe, about 24 buildings. Most of them are homes. There's a couple of commercial buildings, but they all kind of have a hobbity look to them. But they're each unique. He believed in using natural things, so he used limestone, fieldstone boulders that he had found in northern Michigan. And the houses sort of blend into their landscape, and each one is unique in the way it looks. You have to really get the map to look for them. I think some of them will be hard to see. You can tour, I think, a couple of them, but most of them are still owned by families. So, but they do publish a map that shows you where they are, so you can at least go by and see them. But they look pretty darn cute. We actually even found out a friend of ours from Dallas.
Yeah. So
her father had lived in one. Yes, her father had lived in one, which
that's cool.
That was cool and surprising. So that was kind of fun. So that's definitely something to do and look for in Charlottesville. Boy, otherwise it would just look like a cute town. Another one of those nice lakeside towns with cute little shops and right on the water and just perfect. And definitely a place, I'm pretty sure that was a place that had Cherry Republic, where you can get
every place
delightful dark chocolate cherries. Delightful. So what is the other thing besides cherries that Michigan is well known for?
So there are all around the Great Lakes, there are hundreds of lighthouses.
I think there's a total of 129.
So, and that's just in Michigan, I think,
right.
129.
Yeah.
So if you're coming up to this area and you think lighthouses are cool, then definitely put that on. They have, of course, maps of lighthouses and things that you can get. So they're all over the place. Some look pretty utilitarian, like the one we showed on the last show was a just pretty utilitarian lighthouse. Some of them are beautiful, and so but it's kind of fun to go find them.
We hit 6 or 7 of them. We had the Port Betsy one outside of Holland, and then outside of Traverse City there's the Mission Point Lighthouse and another great lighthouse. So lots of beautiful ones that are well preserved. Some of them you can even rent and stay in. Like Port Betsy, you could Airbnb it. So if that's something that's interesting, definitely something to go and do. Yeah. The other thing, speaking of the Upper Peninsula, which I was thinking, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I was thinking about it, was another spot we stopped in on our way from Munningsing down
headed south out of the Upper Peninsula.
We stopped at something called the Big Spring.
You're on your own here. Yeah. Kitchy
Ippy Kippy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right.
Kitchy Ippy Kippy.
But it was really cool spring.
It is a big spring. It's nicknamed the Big Spring. The cool thing is it's a natural spring. It is 40 feet deep, and it's always 45 degrees.
And it's self-propelled in the sense that it's on a big cable, and people load up into this boat.
There's no rangers.
No one there, no rangers there to tell you what to do. There's a sign that kind of describes what you have to do, No one was taking the wheel, so Deborah just got on there and started spinning it, and we
I think
started moving.
Everybody got, because right there in the middle, you can see the back of that one woman. That's an open area in this boat that you can look down into the water. And so everybody just went right straight there to look, thinking, I think that, automatically it was going to automatically go, or that somebody was going to, the ranger was going to be there, but there wasn't anybody. So I got it started.
Yeah.
And luckily some kids decided it'd be fun to do it the rest of the way. But it's on a rope that takes you out and then brings you back. But you can see straight down into the water. You can see the fish, and you can see the actual spring coming up from this natural fed underground spring.
It was so clear. It was incredible. The huge fish.
Yeah, big fish.
You can see the spring bubbling up there. But this is what it looked like as it was coming into shore. It's just a pretty cool experience.
So there, if you look, see where the sand is moving, that's actually spring coming up out from the underground spring. The water coming up from the underground spring. It's just so cool. I've never seen anything like it. So absolutely it's something you should stop. We actually stopped in the rig.
Yeah, we were on our way out.
Parked, along the side there and went in. It doesn't take but 40 minutes to see it.
No, it's a quick trip, unless you want to go do one of the little hikes around. I had a couple hikes, but if you just want to do a quick trip to stop and see it, it was lovely.
Clear blue water,
very nice.
Definitely worth a stop. So yeah. And that, of course, reminds us that of those fish we saw that, you're in the Great Lake territory when you're in Michigan, and you are surrounded by water most of the time, and definitely a lot of fish. They have lake trout, which is what we caught, and walleye, we tasted that. It was very good. Yellow perch. Some people even said that there are some salmon, which we didn't really believe, but then we were proven that there are. So it's got some great fishing if you are a fisher person, or like me, not a fisher person, but you decide to try it one day because you have to, because your husband and friend decide that's what they want for their birthday. But
it was a lot of fun going.
It was a lot. It was a great day, and I'll put in the show link the name of the gentleman we went out from St. Ignace in his boat, because he was quite delightful, and we would highly recommend him. He knew where to go. He knew the right spots to go to.
He's been doing it a long time.
Exactly, and he made it very, very easy for us.
In the previous show, if you didn't see that, you can go back to see that, and we have several pictures of that and a quick little video.
But whether in St. Ignace or someplace, but it's absolutely something to get out and do some fishing. And you'll see people fishing everywhere that you go. But you want to get out on the water. You're in lake territory. So figure out some way to get out on the water. The other thing, we did stop in Detroit. That's actually where we flew out of
we cut across the state because we had to fly out for a wedding, so we got a little closer to Detroit to do that, but we did spend a couple of days there.
We spent a couple of days, and I had a chance to go to the Henry Ford Museum and to Greenfield Village, and everybody kept telling me about this place and saying, you have to go, and I'm not really a big museum person, but I decided, okay, this is unique, and of course in Detroit almost everything is named Henry Ford. So I went in there. Well, it was fascinating. It is buses and campers and cars. This particular bus is actually the bus that Rosa Parks sat on.
Oh no, that's the actual bus.
This is the bus that she sat on to start the civil rights. That was one of the parts of the civil rights movement. They're also having this camper that Henry Ford built for Charles and Anne Lindbergh. They used it to travel around.
Wow.
Charles Lindbergh of the Spirit of St. Louis. They traveled around in it, but they also used it just at their house as like an extra office. They wrote a book. She wrote a book, one of her books in this camper.
Oh, fun.
And they also have presidential, like from several different presidents, the presidential cars. And this is the car that John F. Kennedy was shot in. But it was interesting to see the development of the presidential cars and the different things they started adding to them. Of course, bulletproofing, the steps for the Secret Service. So that was fascinating. There were some other, there's trains, huge trains, and then small trains and planes. I mean, every kind of transportation was inside this museum building, plus a lot of historical pieces. There is the chair that Abraham Lincoln sat in when he was shot.
Really?
Yes, really. Was in this museum.
Wow.
And just fascinating things. The Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile is in there. And then outside the building, so this is the building, right? So that would take days, a couple of days just to go through it. I went through it in like half a day, so I didn't even see everything. It was got to be almost overload. So then I wanted to be outside, so I went out to the Greenfield Village, which is next door, but a separate admission, unless you're a member, which I ended up becoming a member because it was less expensive for the whole day, right, to do it that way. Plus that way, if I was going to go back ever in a year. But outside is buildings that Henry Ford had brought to this place. So it had the Wright brothers bicycle shop that they had in Dayton, Ohio before they went out to Kitty Hawk, right? So that's where they would do their plans. It had a whole village of Thomas Edison's Menlo Park. So lots of buildings from that. So you're experiencing history, not just reading about it. You're actually in buildings and seeing it. And that was really what he wanted. He wanted this opportunity for people to get to really experience it. He thought that was a better way to learn about it. You could take drives around in different kinds of Ford cars.
No kidding.
And there's people that would drive you around the Greenfield Village, or there were horse-drawn carriages that would take you around as well. It's not huge, so it's also very walkable, but really good ice cream as well. So yeah, it was fascinating. So I am now on the bandwagon when people say to go to the Henry Ford Museum. Absolutely, it is a top thing to do when you're in the Detroit area.
You heard it here first.
Or last. We tried to go to the Motown Museum. It was closed. And then we went out to the Belle Isle. Is it called Belle Isle?
Belle Island?
Belle Island. Belle Isle, I think. But which is a part of Detroit, kind of, it's a little island off of Detroit. And right in the middle of you can see Canada. Canada was like, every time we would look up a restaurant, it would give us Canadian restaurants. It was within a couple of miles. But it was under construction quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like it had seen better days, and part of it was under construction. So.
It's actually in the Detroit River, not one of the lakes, but it's about 982 acres. It was started in 1800s, 1845 to be exact. And so it had it has an aquarium on it. It had some great buildings and great history.
And there were a lot of people out there enjoying it. Yeah.
But they had a lot of it closed off, either for construction or they were getting ready for an event. We weren't quite sure. But a lot of people were going out there, especially we noticed around 5 o'clock with their grills, and they were going to hang out and get in the water and just have a nice, it would be a great place on a Saturday or Sunday to hang out. But we just didn't have a great experience there. But there are some free admission things you can do there. There's also a conservatory, and there was a lighthouse, but we couldn't get to the lighthouse because of the construction. So that was really cool. So that was Detroit, and then we went over to Bay City, and we stayed there this was as we were leaving Michigan, actually. This is one of our last stops in Michigan, was Bay City. And we did that because we wanted to be able to do a couple of day trips up to Tawas Point State Park and also to Frankenmuth. And why did I want to go to Frankenmuth?
Frankenmuth is a well-known German-influenced little town, and it was Christmas all year, basically.
Basically, so it's Christmas there all the time. It was settled by German immigrants, so it has a very strong German influence in it. It is home to Bonner's Christmas Wonderland, which is the world's largest Christmas-themed store. It's been around since 1945, and it is acres and acres of Christmas decorations outside.
It's overwhelming.
Yes. If you're looking for an ornament, you can't find it there. It doesn't exist. It had outside, there was a drive-through area that you could do in the evenings that was all the lit up, Christmas. It's just basically Christmas there all year round. And it was awesome. There's also just some nice shops and things in Frankenmuth. There is the River Play shop, had tons of cute stores. I did a few, picked up some Christmas gifts while I was there. And of course, the other thing you have to do when you're in Frankenmuth is eat.
Yeah, that's the thing. The what was the name of that restaurant? There were two restaurants that were really
Bavarian
well known
Inn
for
and Zelanders.
that sort of Bavarian style.
Yeah, family
a whole
style.
bunch of food, and
it's this family. They're famous for the family style chicken dinner. So you kind of have to do it. It's an all you can eat. You're not going to eat that much, but I would tell you. You kind of feel like you have to do it because, it's the thing to do. But I would recommend going to the Bavarian Inn. They had an outdoor area that it looked like they were going to serve like grilled sausages. I'd do that instead. Yeah. It's fried chicken. And it's lots of little salady dishes that were, tasty.
They were okay. Wasn't anything to write home about.
we would probably give it a 3 out of 5, 2.5. Yeah. So you feel like you have to do it, but, maybe do it. Maybe just go outside and listen to music. And
unless you just want to do it to do
pretzel
it.
and a hot dog.
Yeah,
sausage.
exactly. I would recommend that otherwise.
There was a really good restaurant that I now can't think of the name of for breakfast at the other end of the street. But there were good restaurants there, and a huge ice cream store, and of course a fudge store, because it isn't a city in Michigan without a fudge store.
They're everywhere.
So I will say this. I would love to go back to Frankenmuth during Christmas because don't you know, it's amazing. I know they have a Christmas festival. They have a couple of festivals. So if you ever are planning to go to Michigan, definitely check out the festival event schedule for not only Frankenmuth, but for a lot of the other cities, because I think...
Yeah, this is a good rule for any place you're going.
But
check out that festival schedule.
They, I know, have one around the German culture. I think it's in June, and then of course they have a Christmas one, of course. So those would be, I think, definitely things to do and see.
I'm sure there's something about Oktoberfest near there.
Oh, probably so. You're probably right. Yeah. So so then the other thing we want you to touch on is a couple other campgrounds that we stayed in, so that we can give you our thoughts on those.
Where would you like to start? Because we stayed in quite a few.
Well, for today, we're talking about Detroit, so let's talk about that one.
Okay, so we stayed over near Proud Lake Recreation Area, which was a little closer to Detroit, so we can get to the airport. It was nice. I mean, it was, I don't think we had any hookups or minimal hookups.
No hookups. There was a lake right very close, so we took a kayak. Johnny Lightning came and joined me at one night. So he and I went out because you were working, I think. So, and got out on the water. That was kind of fun. I will say this about Proud Lake. It was not very level. No,
it was horrible. It was one of the worst. We couldn't get completely level, as a matter of fact. You can see the boards under the wheels there. We ended up not being able to get perfectly level.
No, we were in spot 112. But I don't think anything on the outer perimeters were level, and even the spots in the middle didn't look very level.
It's a really basic rec area for sure. Its draw is really that it's right there off that lake, and good for kayaking and boating and fishing, I suppose. But so it was very convenient though.
And we also stayed when we were in Bay City, where we went to visit Frankenmuth. We stayed in Bay City. We were at Bay City State Park. That was good. We were in the very first spot, number 1 spot. Not lots of shade. It was level. It was also very convenient. We were able to ride our bikes on the bike trail, which was right behind the park. We were able to ride the bikes over to the lake, which was across the street. There was even an ice cream store within biking distance. So I do want to point out that big silver
those
fire
are
pit.
Interesting fire pits.
They were in every single Michigan state park we went to. And they're fire pits. Now you're not moving those suckers at all, but they work really well as a fire pit. It was a great fire pit.
Must have something to do with code, because we were seeing those all over.
Everywhere. Yes, we saw some, in fact, in storage. It looked like they were going to be sending it someplace. So those were the two that we stayed in that pertain to this show. And then on each of the other shows we've mentioned.
Yeah, just to touch back on the one we stayed near St. Ignace. This was one of my favorites just because we had fun access to the beach area there.
That was a Lakeshore RV park.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was nice. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the streets. This was we mentioned this in the last show, but this was a nice little state park.
We did not stay there.
We did not stay there. This would be, one of those state parks is very difficult to get into, but it has a nice little hike that gives you a nice view of the bridge there. So, and here's Jen and Shreg pointing out the fact that he doesn't like big steep drops, which that featured. So that'd be a place to look at. If we were going back, I'd probably look into trying to book there if we could.
Yep, absolutely. Most of the Michigan state parks, not only did they have those great fire pits, they usually had electrical. They wouldn't always have water or sewer, but they would have electrical. Yep. So that was nice. But not only all of them, of course. So that's just something to watch for. But as we've said in other shows, the Michigan state parks are very popular, not only with those of us that are coming up to visit, but Michigan people like to go camping on the weekends, and they know where they go. Yeah, they know where to go, and they know what they want to do, and state parks are available 6 months before you want to go, and they are there on the nose when it opens. So you do want to plan ahead for Michigan if you want to stay at the state park, and they are good parks to stay at. Yep. So we highly recommend them. So other than that, in Michigan, is there anything else that we didn't cover?
Well, I think we covered it, except if you are going into Michigan and you only had one particular area of Michigan that you could go to, what would be your pick?
I would go back to Traverse City area if I can only go to one place, because there's a lot of trips I can do out of that area. I might stay a little further east than Traverse City where we stayed. I might stay a little closer to Charlevoix, because I think I could easily get up to St. Ignace and do some day trips. But yeah, if I could only go back for let's say 48 hours for some reason, I would go to Traverse City. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I think another runner-up for me would be just to go all the way up into Munising or somewhere up in there where you're closer to Pictured Rocks. And there were a lot of hikes that looked fun throughout there, and then to get up into that Keweenaw Peninsula.
Yeah, and I definitely want to do that. I want us to go back and do more of that Upper Peninsula, the west part of Upper Peninsula. Get much further west. There's a place there called Cloud of Lakes, or Lake of Clouds, I think. That looks really pretty. Copper Harbor, where I hope we can go and hopefully see the Aurora Borealis, and of course go to the national park that's there. So those are the areas I want to go to that we didn't get to go to. So we'll get back.
That's right. All right. So I think that puts a bow on Michigan.
I think so.
All right.
So I hope you guys will give us your comments and thoughts in comments about where you think we should go next time we go to Michigan, or where you like to stay when you go to these places that we've mentioned.
That's right. And thanks for being here. Until we can see you in person sometime. Hope to see you in the virtual campground.
See you around the campfire.